do you masturbate? And I'm like, well, why do you care?
Hello and good morning, Skullies. Welcome back to my channel. For those who don't know me, if you're new here, my name is Savonne Pearson. I like to talk about things that people don't really like to talk about as far as the LGBT community, specifically being a lesbian, and then I'm very passionate about mental health. Now today I have a very exciting video for you guys. I'm so excited to share this with you. Essentially, I sat down with a dope human being. Her name is Innie, and she identifies as an asexual lesbian. And so I wanted her to come on here and just debunk some things that she's heard from other lesbians about asexuality, and just for her to share her experience so you guys can know a little bit more. And obviously, if you are asexual too, maybe it's just someone that you can relate to. With all that being said, I feel like the interview stands still for itself, so I'll just let you guys get straight into it. Before you do, make sure you like this video, subscribe to support me. I appreciate it so much. And then leave a comment, just any questions or anything that you've heard about asexual lesbians. And then if you have learned anything, leave a comment below and tell us what you've learned. So first, let me have you introduce yourself, just so that anyone who is watching would just know who you are.
Okay, my name is Innie. I'm Nigerian, and, well, by birth anyway, and I'm an asexual lesbian.
Cool.
That's kind of like the term I prefer to go by. If you just want to call me a lesbian, like, I don't mind. Like, that's what I am anyway.
So my first question is, how would you describe the ace spectrum to someone who may not understand asexuality?
In the simplest terms, like, asexuality is the lack of sexual attraction. Of course, like, there's, like you said, a spectrum. So there's people who experience like a little bit more, but like not necessarily a lot.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. So like, to you, what does it mean to be an asexual lesbian, and like how did that label more resonate with you and your journey?
I first entertained the idea that I might not be straight when I was like 18. Like, that was the first time ever that I even allowed myself to think about it. And I ran away from it, like, immediately because, like, my very Christian upbringing. And I'd never even allow myself to entertain the idea that you might not be straight. You know, it was always, okay, you grow up, you get a husband, you have kids. What you want does not matter, right? Is what you're expected to do. So it was a whole year before I even entertained it again. I was kind of like, okay, maybe I'm bi. So I did go like the bi, like I thought I was bi first.
We all been there.
I feel like a lot of people definitely went that route. And I think what should have clued me in to the fact that I was a lesbian at that point was the fact that I wasn't happy necessarily that I was allowed to explore the full extent of my orientation. It's more, I was happy that I could finally be romantic with girls. So that was what I was happy about. It's like the fact that I adopted the label bi was like, okay, now it's in the definition. I can be with girls now. I guess the reason why I didn't really start thinking about the asexual part yet was because, like I said, very Christian. I grew up in Nigeria in a Christian school. They were very hard on the abstinence route. There wasn't any safe sex, anything. Like, no, like, just don't do it. The first person you date is most likely the person you're going to marry. So, yeah, that's it. And it's it's so funny because, like, I wouldn't mind reading books that had sex in them, and that's technically also a sin. So, like,
what?
Why was I? Yeah, yeah. I guess another reason why I didn't think I was asexual was because I would always stay up late and watch movies that maybe had sex scenes. But the thing is that I didn't feel anything. It's just that, like, I wasn't allowed to watch it. So, of course, I was going to.
Yeah, yeah. When somebody tells you not to do something, of course you're going to do it.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of why I thought I wasn't asexual. It's kind of like, you know, it was just upbringing, you know, things will change. But as time went on, since I came to Canada when I was like 15, and I guess I was exposed to speaker. I can't even remember her name, but I remember that the first school that I went to was kind of like a high school finishing type of thing to get a high school diploma, right? So she came in and she spoke about like the LGBTQ plus community. She said she was queer and she was in a relationship with a woman. And I was like, what?
Yes.
What?
When you find out that that's possible, it's so crazy.
I'm also like thankful in a way because I never had any opinions about the LGBTQ plus community, mainly because I didn't know what it was or that it was a thing growing up. So I remember thinking like, oh, okay, like I support them, but that's not me though. Like, and I remember my friend being really like, oh wait, no, I support them. Like it's important for them to be happy as well. And I would remember she was like 16 and she was like so like, oh, you know, they have to be happy as well. They have to be. I was like, yep, but like I was like a wallflower, so I didn't really say anything.
Yep.
I did discover, I guess, I really started thinking about it like a year later. So like when I was 20, it's like I was just waiting a year before figuring out the next part. But between the ages of 19 and 20, I guess I started kind of realizing that, oh, actually, I do want romantic, you know, the romantic aspect of a relationship, but I don't necessarily want the sexual part. And it was kind of hard to explain it to myself because I had always seen relationships as something that encompassed like both of those, and that was the only way relationships could exist. So it kind of took a while for me to kind of be like, okay, I'm actually asexual. So I kind of started doing research myself and stuff like that. And yeah, that's kind of just how I was like, and I thought that, okay, I'm done with self-discovery. This is it. And then I was like, no, actually, you're not bi. You're a lesbian. Like, okay, thank you. Thank you. Another year of like self-discovery.
It literally never
again.
stops. It never stops. It just keeps going. You're like, oh, here's another thing. Here's another thing. Oh, so you already basically answered my other question, which was, how did you know that you were a lesbian? So we got that. But maybe if you could talk about some common misconceptions behind it. And like maybe you can kind of debunk some of it, because you know people got some assumptions, some things, and I wanted you to kind of like come on here and just talk about some of them and debunk them. Maybe some frequently asked questions.
So there's so many that I've heard, both like really just like confusing ones, but also like really, really hurtful ones, and some that are just like, from where are you getting these like assumptions? Like, who told you these things? I guess this isn't necessarily a misconception, but it's somehow always a question that people ask, always, which is so weird. Like, why would you ask anybody? And it's, do you masturbate? And I'm like, well,
yeah, like,
why do you
that's
care
not your business.
whether or not I
Like,
do. Like, you're not in a relationship with me, you're not like close to me, because it's usually
they'll come up and just ask you that. Oh my
asking
goodness.
these questions, or on the internet, like all the time. Those are things that people definitely ask, and I'm just like, how do you fix your mouth to say that? sorry, I'm just like, why? Like,
yeah. Do you ask your friends this?
And like, and I think it's like, well, if I masturbate or not, it has nothing to do with me being asexual. It's me feeling like the need to do it and the pleasure from it that I would do it. Because again, asexuality is lack of sexual attraction to people. So it has nothing to do with like sexual like desire or like libido. It has nothing to do with that. Like if you don't feel that attraction to do it with someone, like it's like that's what it is. Like I feel like that's
confused.
What gets people like twisted up. They're like, wait, what? Like no, you can't watch porn. You can't read this. You can't do. And I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure that I can.
Right. Yeah. That's a whole interesting way to think. I never even thought about it that way. You just enlightened me, honestly. That's a really, it really does mean attraction to other people. So, wow, you just opened my eyes.
Yeah. I mean, I would say like most orientations are defined that way. Attraction to other women, attraction to people of other genders. It's always attraction to other people. With asexuality, that's not really different. It's just that it's the lack of it. Right. That's really all it is. You know, like that's really, and I guess the lack really just gets people like twisted up. And like people understand celibacy even if like they mock people who are celibate. People understand you choosing to do it, but they don't understand you not having like that, something that they view as innate feeling. Yeah. Another one, like so many of these questions, like if you're not straight, you've probably heard this. A lot of these in relation to your own like sexual orientations. Is like, how do you know if you've not tried it? And I'm like, what does that have to do with anything? Like, you don't have to try it first. You can just hear what people say about it, maybe even watch it and be like, oh no, I want nothing to do with that. You can know before you get yourself into that situation that you want nothing to do with it. It's kind of difficult to explain sometimes for some reason. But, like, people ask me, like, with regards to me being a lesbian and with regards to me being an asexual, how do you know? And I'm like, what do you want me to do? I know because I know. That's it. Right. I know because I know myself. I know, like, what I feel, and, like, that's really it. And also, like, well, what if, like, one person comes along, that special person, and you are not asexual anymore?
And you know what? Even to relate it more to lesbians, like, you know, when you first come out, it's not like you just had sex with a woman and that was it. How did you know you were a lesbian? Because you were attracted to that woman and that was just it. Did you have to try to have sex with that woman to be to know that you were attracted to her? You don't.
No.
So the same thing doesn't applies to asexuals. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to not, like, how to not connect those dots. Right.
Exactly. I don't know, like, what people want us to say. Like, they just want us to shrivel up and stop existing.
No, they want you to have sex with them. That's what they want. Like, not gonna happen.
Sorry. Not happening. The biggest thing is just like also the I can change you thing.
It's like when a guy says to you, because I've gotten this in the last couple of weeks like 3 times. Are you sure you're lesbian? Could I change that? No. No. So another misconception. I'm trying to think, like, there's way too many. Oh, okay. This one is probably because of how people who don't feel sexual attraction are usually depicted. So, and this is that, like, they're usually unfeeling robots. They're psychopaths. They're sociopaths. They need to, we need to go be fixed. Like, there's something fundamentally wrong with us, like we're broken and stuff like that, and people like definitely say that a lot. And like that's also another thing that really kind of messed with me, like when I was young, is almost all the time if a character is unhappy with their life, the solution is fall in love and have sex. That's always it. And it's like, well, but like, it's like, what if you don't want that? And society's very, very sex driven. And just like, I mean, look at our commercials, look at all the things that we consume. Like, literally every time there's a movie and there's 2 romantic interests, the end all be all is what? Sex. That's just it. But they don't explore the idea of there being more to that. And I really don't like the way that they don't even like, they talk about romance and they show romance, but the romance is until they have sex, like it's leading up to the sex.
Yeah, the sex is like the main point. Like after they've had after they've had the sex, it's like, okay, now they're in a relationship. Now they're together. Before, it was kind of just like a fling thing. So another one is that we hate seeing bodies. I don't know where this one comes from, to be honest, because bodies are not inherently sexual, but of course, because of the society we live in, of course, if you see a body and you're like, oh, you know, like, I like her body, it's automatically a sexual thing. Yeah. So it's not possible that you might just be like, oh, no, they have a beautiful body and that's it.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing else. They just have a beautiful body. And it's, no, like, obviously not. Like, I treat bodies, I'm partial to, like, femme bodies, of course, but I see bodies the same way I see, like, artwork. I can admire it. You know, I can see that there's, you know, that other people also like that body, you know? But, like, I don't really want to do something to or with the body. So it's kind of hard because it's like, well, you kind of try to explain that, oh, you know, you want the hand holding, the kissing, the cuddling, but you don't want the sex. And then for a lot of people, like, the kissing always leads to the sex. So it's like, you can't divorce two of them. And I don't know what else to tell you. Honestly, like, that's just how it is for me.
What is it like for you to be a black woman and asexual? Because, like you said, black women are usually heavily sexualized. So, like, how is that for you, being a black woman?
It's really weird. Especially, I guess, growing up. Like, I had weird cases of, like, sexual harassment, like, as a child. And people kind of see you as an adult very early. So, like, especially with, like, I don't know, I mean, this is obviously not an excuse for them at all. But because I'm pretty curvy, so people always kind of take that somehow as an invitation. Like, me just existing in my own body as an invitation.
Next one is, how do you navigate dating?
I haven't really gotten to that part yet, like navigating dating, but I've tried. And a lot of the time people, maybe it's just because I use dating apps, so that probably has something to do with it, but I'm kind of terrified, to be honest, because, like, with regards to, like, you know, lesbians, of course, like, specifically, a lot of stuff that pertains to dating always kind of has sex attached to it. So I guess, I'm not going to say, like, I'm never going to find someone, but I think that finding someone or talking to someone about it would be kind of hard. Just because, like, people kind of don't, like, people would call me, like, a fake lesbian and stuff like that. So...
Yep. Yeah. Honestly, when you say it so, like, blatantly, I still don't get how people don't understand it. I'm like, literally, I just told you. Like, how do you not?
It's always because, like, sex is, like, such an integral part. Like, if you've not had sex, like, even if you've had, like, a nice relation, like, you're living together, but you...
Oh, yeah, y'all not
sex,
together.
You're
not together at all. You haven't done the thing yet, you know, the thing that makes the world go round. Yeah. So if you date someone that's not asexual, how, for you, like, how would you, I know you said you haven't done this yet, but, like, how do you imagine setting boundaries and, like, letting them know, like, look, like, you're not going to change this for me. This is me. However, I still want to date you, you know?
Well, I can say one thing and, like, when I'm also faced with a situation, do another. But what I feel like I would prefer to do is, like, from the very beginning, I will tell this person that, okay, like, this is it. And if that's not something that they're going to be able to, like, you know, be okay with in the relationship, that's fine. Obviously, like, if you want sex in a relationship, of course, like, pursue sex in a relationship with someone who wants it. But, like, I have to tell them, like, early on. I don't think, like, waiting will do anyone any good. And of course, like, if they tell me stuff like, you just haven't found the right one, or I can change you, then I know that that's where we should cut it off. Because I'm not about to have, you know, a situation where I'm being assaulted because this person strongly believes that they can change me. Yeah, it's kind of like when someone, like you said in like your last video, like when someone shows you who they are, believe them. Like, I don't want to be in a situation where, like, later on, and I'm like, oh, so surprised. And of course, like, it can be surprising. Someone like you love so much and you thought loved you is being like very difficult about this thing that you cannot change.
Right. And it's like, do they really care and respect you if they think that they can change you, you know?
Exactly.
And the very last question, because this is a question that I've heard a lot from people, is essentially, what does fulfillment look like then in your relationships if you don't have sex? What are the other areas that you look forward to? Literally, somebody asked me that, and I was like, okay, I'll ask. But like, what? Like, so essentially, what is it without the sex? That's what they want to know. That's
so weird. Like, you only get fulfillment from your relationship if you have sex in it.
Yeah, I'm like, is that all you're here for?
There's so much to a relationship. Like, there's so many things. And like, I'm saying I want romance, but for me, sex doesn't even factor in. So it's like, it's not even like a fulfillment thing, like, or a lack of fulfillment thing. Like, how can you feel fulfilled with something that you don't even like want or consider important? Like, of course you're not going to feel fulfillment from that. Like, it's not important to me. It doesn't factor in as like a part of a relationship that like I care about, you know? So like, the best way, I guess, that I would answer that question is a successful relationship. Like, I feel fulfilled if my partner and I are, you know, obviously on good terms with each other. Hopefully, like, if you're in a relationship, you want to be on good terms. And we understand each other deeply, and we do have that emotional connection. And, like, if you want to have all that plus sex to feel fulfilled, then, like, by all means. Like, if that's important to you, like, obviously, it's important to you. So you do that. But, like, for me, if it's not important to me, then there's no fulfillment to be had at all. So, like, that question is kind of confusing, I guess, to me, just because, like, I wouldn't feel fulfilled with sex.
Right. Yeah, I get you. I completely understand. Yeah.
So there's no lack of fulfillment. Yeah, like, basically.
Well, that's all the questions I have. Mm-hmm. You enlightened me so much, honestly, and I feel like this will definitely help people out there who are, like, completely, like, question mark, like, what does that even mean? Because when you say asexual, they're like, okay. And then you say asexual lesbian, they're like, wait a minute, hold on. How does that exist? But you do exist.
Yeah, somehow, like, that makes people, like, weird. Like, just, like, they start, like, glitching if you tell them, like, what? Like, if people have questions, like, after watching the video, but I'll try to answer in the comments section if I can. Obviously, my experience is not the asexual experience.
Yeah. It's just like when we're speaking on lesbian experiences. Nothing is a monolith. Yes. Whew, that was quite an interview. So I hope you guys learned something from that. I really, really enjoyed having Annie on. Thank you again, girl, for coming on here. She definitely told me a lot of things that I didn't even know, and also she kind of had me questioning my own kind of sexuality, and honestly she helped me come to the conclusion that I am also on the ace spectrum. I am actually demisexual, which I will talk about in one of my upcoming videos. So again, like she said, if you have any questions, just drop them down below. She will try to answer as many as possible. Again, Annie, thank you so much for coming on here. Thank you guys for being so welcoming. Drop your comments or your questions down below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.